Hey there, friends. I'm really glad you finished your quiz. And we're just going to have a very light homework assignment this weekend, which is to take notes. And I want to ask you to watch this video because this section can be really complicated. And sometimes it's hard to know whether you got the right answer. And you have this wonderful tool, the calculator. And so I want to just go through how you can use this wonderful tool to check your work. You can't. The whole point of this chapter is learning algebraic skills to solve rational functions, and so you still need to do that. But you can always check with your calculator in a nice way, and maybe then go back and see where you made your mistake. So if you take a look on page 262, example 1. What I've done here is I've typed in the two equations. This first one is A, and this second one is B. And we're going to just look at this first equation. Now, as you can see in the book, your equation is 2 rad x plus 1 equals 4. And what I did is I just moved the 4 over and set it equal to 0. And in doing that, you'll be able to see where the x-intercept is, and that's going to be your solution. And I've turned off, notice how these equal signs are all not highlighted, so I've turned all those off, so we're only going to be looking at this first equation here. Off first. You might want to do this in your calendar, especially in your calculator, in case you still have some stuff on from regression. So I turn my plots off, and I'm going to just do zoom standard, and that gives me the 10 by 10 grid, and we'll see if that's a good representation of the graph. Okay, so this makes sense because if I go and I look at my y equals, it's a square root function, and I know a square root function is going to have a restricted domain and a restricted range, so that graph makes sense. And then looking at this is going to be a shift to the shift to the left by 1 and down 4. So when I look at my graph, that's a shift to the left and down 4. That makes sense too. So here, when I look at my graph, it looks like it crosses right here at 3, and I can double check that by doing second calc. I can do my guess, and I can do the value is at, when I have 3 is at 0, and it says yes. The other way I could have done this is when I look at this, and I can do my 0 value, right? So I go to 0, and it asks for the left bound, so I'm going to go to a little bit below that because that's to the left. And then I'm going to go a little bit above it. So this is where an x value is going to be positive. And the arrows are looking at one another. The arrows are looking at one another. So now I can just hit enter. And bada bing, bada boom, there's your 0 is x equals 3. So I rewrote this equation so that I had everything to one side. And this works just to solve it when it's equal to 0. So again, this is just a way to check it. In class on Thursday, I guess, of next week, we're going to be talking about how to solve these algebraically. All right, but I just want to go through this, how to check it. So why don't you type the next one into your calculator and see if you can figure out how to solve this. So that's how you would type it into your calculator. Again, we're bringing the 2 over to the other side as a -2 and setting it equal to 0. So just want to remind you also, in order to get that cube, you can do it one of two ways. You can go to math, and you see right here, you've got at number 4, you have the cube root. And if you had the 4th root, you could do number 5, and then you would have to put the number in. So if you just go down to 4, that'll give you it. So type this equation in, pause the video, and see if you can figure out the solution yourself. All right, hopefully you were able to find that the solution was 18, and I'm going to go through that with you. So I'm going to hit my enter key over that equal sign, and I'm going to scroll down to this one and hit enter, so it is highlighted now. Okay, and I'm going to take a look at my graph, and let's see what's happening with this graph. It's moving awfully slowly. Oh, and it's a cube root, so this makes sense that I have this little turn in here and my domain is not restricted, but it doesn't cross the x-axis. So I need to adjust my window. So I'm going to go over here to window, and I think I need to go out a little bit farther with my x's. So I'm going to go to x equals 20 and just see if that helps. And I think I've got it here, but I think I want to go out a little bit farther because I can't really see very well. And the other thing I could do is I could minimize my y values. So I'm just going to change my window here, and I'm going to go out to 30 just to be safe. I'm going to go back to graph, and since it's kind of hard to see where it crosses the x-axis, I'm going to use my calc button for the 0 instead of checking the value, because in the last one I could see it pretty clearly. And jeepers, it doesn't even look like I can see it going above, but I think this should be okay. So if I go to second calc and I look at my 0, and I'm going to go to the left, and that's really far to the left, so I'm going to hit that. And then I'm going to scroll all the way out to the end here because I see where it my y value is still negative, and I want to have a y value that's positive. So I don't know if I'll be able to make it. Let's see. Is my y value? Okay, so there my y value is starting to get positive. So now I know I'm above the x-axis since my y values are positive. So I'm going to hit enter there because I see how my y value is positive. So now I have a left bound and a right bound, and I'm just going to hit enter. And this might take a little bit longer because my my things were so far apart. But there you go. There's my 0 of 18. Okay, so again, we're going to learn how to do this algebraically, but I wanted to give you a way to check your work using your calculator as a great tool. Okay, I want to go over one more example, which is example number 3, and that's when you have two equations that are equal to each other. So here, when I've got these equations typed in, and I've got x equals 1 on one side, and I've got rad 7x plus 15 on the other side, okay? So this is a little bit more complicated to solve algebraically, but if you have your graphing calculator, it's really great to check, okay? So I'm going to do a zoom standard again, see if I can see both graphs. And since they're set equal to each other, what I want to do is see where they actually cross. That's going to be their where their equivalent is, where they cross. And we can see right here in my graph that they cross right about there. And since this one is a line and this is a rad, I know that these are not going to cross again because of the nature of the shapes. So I'm looking for the point of intersection. So if I go over here to second calc, I think I see something that looks like it might help, this number 5. So I go to intersect, and first curve, notice here that it's on the pink curve, and it says up here that it's y equals x plus 1, so that's my first curve. And if you hit enter, your calculator will then automatically jump to the next curve, which is your rad 7x plus 15. So I'm going to hit that one, and then if you want to guess, you can scroll over, but if not, you can just hit enter again. And bada bing, bada boom. Now, here you go. Which of those values is the solution? Well, let's go back to look at what in example 3, it says x plus 1 equals the square root of 7x plus 15. So I want to know what x is. I want to know what x is. So in this situation, my solution is going to be that x equals 7. Okay? All right, so hopefully this gives you, what I would suggest you do is go ahead and practice this a little bit. And I hope you have a really lovely weekend off, a long weekend off. And think about some of the things that Martin Luther King strived for and see how we can incorporate those into our lives for social justice. All right, guys, have a great, great weekend.